Imagine it's the World Cup final, and we are watching the tournament-deciding penalty. Do you think he will score or miss? If you are into football, making this kind of prediction is probably familiar. Sometimes you look into a player's face and you just know he's going to screw it up.
Wesley Sneijder.
So we asked ourselves, can you actually predict a penalty by the facial expression, or is it all just superstition? And we didn't just ask ourselves, but actually did a scientific study asking hundreds of participants to rate videos of penalties. So this is truly an Athletic Interest original. And we were surprised about the results. As it turns out, players communicate much more than you'd think without even knowing. Imagine the implications. For sports betting, broadcasting and even sports marketing, billions are spent every year to find and sponsor the next LeBron or Ronaldo. What if you could identify the best simply by looking at their faces? But before we start, let's resolve our initial question. Did you guess right?
Messi for sure.
You cannot not communicate. As soon as people meet, there is also communication, often without words. Be it a little smile, an understanding nod, or a refused handshake, nonverbal communication is everywhere, especially in sports. Stand tall, chin up and chest out, the typical toolbox of a football coach. Before we reveal the magic of predicting a penalty, let's stick to another overused coaching wisdom: master the fundamentals. The first to study nonverbal communication was none other than Charles Darwin. He noticed the interactions between animals and realized they also communicated by gestures and expressions. According to Darwin, nonverbal behavior is triggered by strong emotions. For example, fear leads to eyes wide open. A reaction that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you are in a dangerous situation, it is important to have a good vision to assess the situation as fast and accurately as possible. A pinched nose in response to disgust can prevent the inhalation of toxic gases. The proud, broad chest increases lung capacity to ensure physical fitness for a fight. Because of the physiological function, these kinds of nonverbal behaviors became habits that also serve as communication. If you see your friend with eyes wide open, there might be a tiger standing behind you. Today, scholars argue that nonverbal communication can convey even more meaning and trust than verbal communication. It's easy to see why. In complex societies, it has become increasingly important to exchange social information quickly and effectively. There's a reason we have so many cringe faces on our thumbnails. There are even theories that you can detect lies based on nonverbal behavior. There are whole TV shows about it, although it's not 100% backed up by science. But the thought is very appealing. Just think of political debates. Even the tiniest details in body language can make a difference. One scientist confirmed that with a study. He showed pictures of politicians to almost 1,000 participants, but only for a few seconds. He then asked them to rate the politicians by competence. The trick was that the participants didn't even know that the people in the pictures were politicians. But they accurately predicted the outcome of the following elections, suggesting that people vote based on first impression and looks rather than in-depth analysis. From predicting elections to predicting sports. One of the most powerful performance-enhancing drugs is testosterone, because it helps build muscles. Why do we talk about steroids now? Because it turns out that nonverbal behavior can actually increase your testosterone level. You don't even have to take pills, you just have to do some power posing. Just think of Ronaldo before a free kick. A study found out that the testosterone level increases after people spend 2 minutes in a so-called high power pose. This is an incredible idea. While Darwin found out that emotions trigger a certain body language, the effect also works the other way around. It is the scientific proof to fake it till you make it, with real-life implications. The scientists recommend that you should do 2 minutes of power posing before your next job interview to increase your self-confidence. It means that chin up and chest out does not only follow from success, it can also lead to success, especially in sports, where nonverbal behavior is shown all the time and captured by hundreds of cameras. Studies have shown that tennis players, for example, observe the opponent's body language before a match, making assumptions on their chances of winning. This influences their confidence levels and thereby also performance. You can test this yourself, just have a look at this picture. Which team do you think is in the lead? While this example might be obvious, studies have confirmed that random clips from a game are enough to conclude the score, purely based on the non-verbal behavior of the players. So it is possible to infer the current score of a game from the player's body language. But is it also possible to predict a performance? Based on what we've learned from Darwin and co., the theory goes like this. A player shows emotions before non-verbal behavior before a penalty. The viewer can decode that non-verbal behavior and understand the emotional state of the player. The emotions as well as the non-verbal behavior influences the performance of the player. The viewer can use the information to make a prediction about the performance. Obviously, there are many factors influencing the success of a penalty, but if the effect is large enough, it should be possible to measure it. So how did we do it? First, we needed clips of penalties, a lot of clips. So we went to the Bundesliga and asked for help, and amazingly, they didn't hesitate and gave us access to their archive. We watched more than 400 penalties and identified 100 clips that show the face of the player from the front. From those 100 clips, 69 were goals and 31 were missed penalties. Then we created a gamified website that randomly showed 15 clips of players right before the penalty. After watching each clip, users could vote on a scale between 0 and 100 how sure they are whether the player is going to score. We then spread the link and got more than 300 users to finish the survey. The rest was Statistics 101. Following our theory, goal videos should get a significantly higher average rating from users than miss videos. So without further ado, here are the results. Goal videos got an average rating of over 57, while miss videos only received 53. Now you might think the two figures are close, but the difference is statistically significant, which means that people were actually able to predict the penalties. But was the prediction purely based on the facial expression? We also asked the viewers why they made their predictions, and some had a simple explanation. They had already seen some of the penalties. So we cleaned up the data and removed all values that were 0 or 100, suggesting that the users knew that particular penalty and were therefore sure about its outcome. But even after cleaning up, the results were still the same. Users significantly rated goal videos higher than miss videos, successfully predicting penalties. So yes, you can predict a penalty by the body language. Although of course you won't be right every time, and there are millions of other factors that come into play. One huge flaw of this study became clear when looking at one particular video and its rating. The clip with the highest rating by far was the penalty preparation of Lukas Podolski, a local hero in Cologne where most of the users took part. So users probably voted based on fandom rather than Podolski's non-verbal behavior, although he did look very confident. Our results show that non-verbal behavior does play a role when taking a penalty. Ronaldo has a scientific reason for standing with his legs apart and chest out. He scores more than 84% of his penalties, way more than the average. So the next time you have to take a penalty or job interview, you know what to do. Another power move that makes a real difference for us? Hitting the like button and sharing this video with your friends. Or subscribing to our newsletter. Each week we send out a light-hearted breakdown of the most interesting stories from the business of sports. From serious think pieces to compilations of hilarious clips we found on social media. Make sure to check it out via the link in the description. We hope you enjoyed this Athletic Interest original and see you next time.